So you've been working hard and you finished writing your book. Whew. But now what? I'm going to talk about that today. First of all, you finished a book. Good job. That's amazing. 80% of people who start writing a book do not finish. So you're in the 20% who has done the work to finish writing a book. But I have some bad news. You're not done. Your book isn't ready to be published. Now, maybe you wrote the book just for yourself. Maybe you wrote it for your family. I'm working on a project that's that way. You might have different steps before that one's ready to be read, but still, a first draft is not ready for another person's eyes. So I'm going to give you today the revision process that I use, and it is straight out of Plot and Structure by James Scott Bell, which I've mentioned before, and you will see links for that down below, and that is an affiliate link on Amazon. As much as I promote his book, I should get a couple pennies every time someone buys it because I promoted it as an awesome writing resource, which it is. So first of all, let that book rest. If you're like a lot of people, you might be sick of the story anyway. You're like, oh, okay, I need time away from it. Bell suggests between a week and a month. I've heard other authors and writing teachers say when you've kind of forgot the specifics of your story, then you're ready to go on to the revision phase. Okay, get your mind ready because the next step after you've let it rest is to read it through like a reader. So what I do is I save it as a PDF and I open it up on my tablet and I read it like a reader. Now, you want to be able to make notes in it. So I used to print it out because you want to be able to make marks so that you can decide what's going to mean, I don't understand what's happening here. I use a question mark. Help, something's missing, a big circle. Boring, I do the yawn emoji face. Okay, so all these things, you're going to mark it up as you go. And the other thing I do is I have a notebook where I take notes. And it's just a first read through and I make notes about stuff that needs to be changed, added, whatever, based on the page number or chapter. Okay, so that's me. That's not necessarily something that Jim says to do in his book. So you're not reading it like a writer. You're going to pretend that someone you don't know sent you this book and says, I need to know what you think. Be honest, be brutal. Tell me what you really think. And I know it's hard. And the first few times you do it, you probably won't be able to put yourself far enough away from the work to really be able to do a great job. Because it takes practice just like everything else in the writing process. All right, now once you're done with the read through, you might give it a few days rest again. Mostly during this time, you're working on your mindset because now the work is going to start. And for some people, coming up with the story and writing the first draft is the hardest part, and they like this part. I'm the opposite. It's so much fun. I love playing on the page when I'm writing the book. Now I got to do all this work to make it better. And that's pretty funny, right? Since I'm a developmental editor, so I do this sort of work on other people's manuscripts all the time, but that's different. It's not mine. So the next step is to rewrite it. Okay, now I want you to think about this because I mentioned revise before, and these are two different things. So rewrite means write again. If you read Jim's book, Plot and Structure, he actually sits down, reads through all of his notes, and then he sits down, opens a blank document, and rewrites the whole thing. Yes, from scratch. Yes, oh, that was the 80,000 words that I wrote in a rough draft. Meh. Don't care. Starting all over. No. The only time I might do that is if the story is really horrible and I still like the premise, but the character needs to completely change or something. It needs to mostly completely change. Then I would rewrite it. But rewrite just means write again. So where you had holes, I need more stuff, fill them in. You're writing stuff. If you had to cut some scenes, but you need to add something now, you write those, writing again, writing the scene that fits in that spot. So to me, that's what rewriting means. It doesn't mean going over and fixing the words that are there. It means writing new words to plug in the spaces and add what you need. Now, sometimes, if you're like me, again, you might have a thing that says research name of disease, and give a realistic symptom here, and then another one, realistic symptom here, realistic symptom here. What do I need to do? I need to go research that stuff now. So I don't like to stop the flow of my drafting to do that research. So I would do it at this point, and then I need to rewrite because I need to write in that stuff that where I need to plug that stuff in during the rewrite. So when you finish with your rewrite, you have a somewhat solid story. It doesn't have holes, it doesn't have boring spots, and it's explained the stuff that needs to be explained. Now you're ready to revise. And just like I said, rewrite means write again. Revise means vision again. Okay, and I really like this because it's talking about visioning your story again. So rather than, that original idea you had, vision it again. Okay, chapter 1. What I do is I have a scene tracker where I write down just basics about the scene, who the narrator is, where it takes place, when it takes place, and the narrator's goal, and whether or not they get it, okay? So I can look through it, and so I look at it and go, oh, first scene, this is where they have the car wreck. Okay, let's vision this again. How do I want to start that? Okay, now I open up my document and go, all right, how does this fit with my new vision? All right, and make it fit. So what does revisioning your story involve? Well, it involves tightening your story structure. Does my first plot point happen where it's supposed to? Is the midpoint close to the midpoint? Is there a good character arc? Is my character learning along the way so their arc is believable? The change they make is believable at the end. For me, it means deepening emotions because I am definitely the person who just spews out all the action that's happening. Now, some scenes might have a lot of emotion and tension, but usually that's something I have to deepen in my revisioning step, as well as upping the conflict, making sure there's enough conflict in the scenes, okay? Do I need to have a little bit more snipey dialogue? Or maybe I need less. Do I need to take out a character, add a character to this part to make it make more sense? Do I need to foreshadow some stuff as I go along to make it more enriching read for the reader? Then I do that. Those are the sorts of things I do on the revision. And then the last one is perfecting the chapter openers and endings. So make sure that I jump right into the chapter. I'm hooked. I hook the reader at the beginning of the chapter within the first paragraph or two, and that the endings end a little before the end. So they end, and they don't feel like a cliffhanger, but they end with enough of a question about what's happening next that the reader wants to turn and read what happens next, if that makes sense. That is revision. Is my book ready to publish now? No, I'm sorry, because then comes the editing and polishing phase. But that's not what I'm talking about today. I'm talking today about revision. So you finished your book. Good job. That's amazing. Let it rest for a while. Then read through it like a reader, like it's new to you, and make it up, mark it up, take the notes that you need to. Rewrite it by adding in the stuff that's missing or replacement scenes to get rid of the boring and put in some excitement, and then revise it to make sure you have a complete story. And what I consider at the end of that is my second draft after the revising. So if you'd like to talk to me, I would love to talk to you. You can comment here. You can follow the link to my website and set up a discovery call. Or hey, just join up Write Your Book Nook group on Facebook, where we welcome all questions from members about any part of writing your story. Until next time, good job finishing your book. Keep on writing.